What's holding him back?
He's going full today. He was just sick. There's a couple guys that were sick that have been in and out. Jordan Matthews was sick. He missed walkthrough yesterday. There's something going around, but we're just getting him back up to speed. But he's full go today.
And Michael too? Kendrick yesterday?
No, they just had a nagging something. They're both back today.
How about Kiko?
Kiko's got to go through the injury protocol, the concussion protocol, not the injury protocol, concussion protocol. So he hasn't been cleared yet. So until he's cleared, he'll just be doing exercises with the trainers. I don't even ask on that. They just tell me when he's cleared. So.
Do you have any concussion? Do you have any concussion history at Oregon?
No, he didn't. So I think they said it was his first. I'm not sure. You got to double check on that, but he didn't have any in Buffalo. So.
Jerome has some fierce last few days of practice.
Who?
Jerome Copeland.
Copeland. He had appendicitis. Yeah.
How was that?
I think he'd be back beginning of next week.
So he had an appendectomy, guys?
Yes. He was sick the other day, and stomach was bothering him, and then they said it was appendicitis. So.
With Kiko, do you worry about, given his style of play, seems like a real aggressive type of linebacker, do you worry about the head injury?
No, because he hasn't had a history of it, so we're not worried about it right now. But obviously, anytime that word comes up with any player, you'll take all the precautions necessary before you put him back out there. So.
When did Kiko's concussion happen?
I don't know.
Tuesday at the link?
It was at the link, yes. I don't know what specific play, but it was Tuesday at the link.
Is he here or is he home? Or?
He's here. He's been working with the trainers every day, and then they have a whole protocol that they go through and what they're allowed to do. There's exercises, and then there's tests and all those other things. So.
Lane Johnson had a disjointed season last year, obviously. What have you seen this spring, this summer, with full first-team reps all throughout the summer?
Just think he's more consistent. Worked extremely hard this offseason. Went to a lot of different places to train. Really settled into where, obviously at this time last year, knew he wasn't going to play in the first 4 games. Was kind of up and down. Allen got a lot of reps out there. Because that was where we were going from that standpoint. So I just think there's a little bit more solidified on that side of the line. Just getting more comfortable who the tight ends are going to be next to him, what he's going to be doing over there. But I just think there's a lot more consistency in the lane going into year 3.
You relied on Todd a lot, obviously, because of Todd's experience. Has that allowed him now, without Todd there, to kind of take a step up?
He didn't play the last 8 games with Todd. So I think in his first year, I would say he relied on Todd a lot. But he didn't really play with Todd very much in the second season because Todd got that injury.
Chip, how saw G.J. Kinney making that transition? How comfortable do you look out there?
I think he looks real comfortable. The one thing about him is he can play a lot of different positions. That versatility, I think, is a benefit to him. He's a lot like Brock Holt for the Red Sox. You can plug him in at a lot of different places. He fit in at running back for us. He could still be an emergency quarterback for us. He's really done a nice job at receiver for us. He's trying to really make a niche for himself on special teams. So, it'll be interesting to see when we get out against the Colts how he fits in.
So beyond the first 3 running backs, DeMarco, Ryan, and Darren, how's Mostert and Kenyon Barner? How have they looked?
They're both doing really well. I think that's an interesting, with those 2 guys. I think with those guys, probably the big decisions will come down from a special team standpoint in terms of being able to contribute. When you get past, your starters at any position, especially the skill positions, it really becomes special team decisions in terms of how they fit in and what they do. But obviously, Kenyon has a leg up from an experience standpoint, having been here before. But Raheem has some really good qualities himself. He's extremely fast. I think he was the Big Ten 100 200 meter champion. So you can kind of see him when he kind of sticks his foot in the ground and gets it to another gear. But I think both of those guys have been. I think we've upgraded really the bottom part of our roster at the running back spot. And it'll be interesting to see how that thing plays itself out.
How would you characterize Sam Bradford yesterday in practice?
I thought Sam had a good practice. I think he's getting more comfortable. The more 11 on 11 he gets and pocket awareness and things like that. But I think that's what we expected. When we traded for him, that's the type of player we saw in film. That's the type of guy that Pat coached when he had him at St. Louis. So, I thought he had a real good day yesterday, and then we got to continue to build on that. Let's go, Les.
I'm sorry. With Kenny a while ago, both those positions, running back and wide receiver, there's a fair amount of nuance and detail to actually doing that at an NFL level. Is he picking that up? I mean, is he somebody you could really use in those spots?
He's picked up receiver because that's where he's training mostly. The running back part of it, I think a lot of that comes from his quarterback experience in terms of what he does. But one of the things about GJ that stands out when he was a quarterback is he was a really good runner of the football. So he, when you put him in there, I think he understands how to make people miss. He understands how to set up blocks because that's part of what he did. Really when you go back to what he did in college, he carried the ball a ton in college. So, I think the running backs part of it is just he was a running quarterback, so that part's probably a little bit easier to transition. The nuances are at the receiver spot, and that's where he does all his training at. So.
Do you happen to see that the Foles got paid?
I know Nick got a new contract. I don't know what it was, but I heard he got a new contract. So.
I wonder what your thoughts on that.
Very happy for him. So I think things worked out for him, and Nick's an awesome person. First and foremost, and you always get to this league. You always hope you get an opportunity to get to a second contract, and it looks like he did. So.
Until recently, it seemed it was very difficult for receivers to come into the NFL and contribute in year one because that's not how the numbers bore out. But last year you had just a remarkable class. It looks like this class is as strong. What is it differently about that position that receivers are able to come in and contribute right away?
I just think they're throwing the ball more at the college level and even more at the high school level. So, a lot of these guys have a ton of experience. Sometimes guys, you don't find out who they are as receivers till maybe their junior, senior year because they got recruited and were playing in different positions. In high school, they were high school running backs or defensive backs or even quarterbacks that got converted at the college level to receivers, so they don't really kind of have, to go back on the nuances of playing the position. But a lot of these guys, when you talk to them, they've been playing receiver since they were 12 years old. I think it's a little bit different. Usually, you can go back 15 years ago and the best athletes at the younger level were all playing running back. And then even a lot of those really good receivers in college were running backs in high school. Now, Nelson was a receiver. You look at that. Jordan was a receiver. It's a lot of those guys coming in now have been playing receiver for a long time. So I just think they got a little bit more experience in terms of playing the position.
What have you seen from Malcolm Bunch, and is there anything in particular that's impressed you so far?
Yeah, real good young prospect in the O-line. He's big. He's physical. It's trying to really solidify, and I think with those younger guys, and I think what Stout's doing, moving them around a little bit, he's playing both tackle and guard, which adds to his versatility. But he can move people. He's a big, physical, strong, run blocking guy. But he does have a good base and knowledge in the pass game. So he's a guy to keep an eye on.
Kelly right now?
What's that?
Is Kelly more tackle the guard now, or
they're everybody. If you look at, I think every day they've all played different positions. Whether it's Graf, whether it's Kelly, whether it's Vandervelde, Molka's played a lot of guard, Coach has played a lot of guard. Stout's just continuing to rotate that second and third group, and they're all getting reps at both guard and tackle. Or the guys that are center guards are playing center guard. Well, so Josh Andrew, Kosha, Molk, Vandervelde are bumping from day to day from center to guard. Dennis Kelly, Graf, Gardner, all those guys are playing guard and tackle.
There's very few guys on the roster that only do one thing. Obviously versatility is good, but does it go deeper than that with you? Is there something?
I just think you have to when you're not the number one. When we play on game day with a 46-man roster, we have 7 offensive linemen up. So those 2 backup offensive linemen have to be able to be, one of them's a center guard guy, the other one's a guard tackle guy. And you don't know what's going to happen in a game. So when someone goes down, we went in our first game against Jacksonville and we lost Evan Mathis. We lost a guard and we lost a tackle. So Moke had to play guard, and I think Gardner came in and played tackle, when Allen went down. But that's just the nature of it. And it's the same thing at any position. If you're a linebacker, we may only keep 3 outside or we may only keep 3 inside. If you do that, then that person has to be able to play both inside and outside when they go. The same thing in the secondary. Are you a safety? Are you a corner? Are you an inside receiver? Are you an outside receiver? Unless you're the number one guy, then those guys have to be able to play multiple positions. Just because when you get out there on Sunday and you have a 46-man roster, you don't have 2 deep at every single position, So you got to kind of make do and just be prepared that if they go, then you got to play guard and tackle, you got to play center and guard or whatever the position may be.
At Wisconsin, Moffitt played center.
What's that?
At Wisconsin, Moffitt played center.
Yeah, he hasn't done any here. Because we just got him and he wasn't here in the spring. We know that's kind of in his back pocket, but we haven't done anything with John. John's probably the guy, except for the starting 5 that or the starting 4 right now, that hasn't played multiple positions. All those other guys have. John, Kelsey, Jason Peters, and Lane have played just one position. So.
With that start, when you first started calling plays in 1999, was that something that just came naturally, or did you have to learn? Was there like a trial and error process of getting to the point where
Yeah,
you
I
want
think with anything, there's always a trial, and there's always got to be a first time that you do it. And whether you're riding a bicycle or calling plays or writing an article or whatever, it's just there's a process in it. And I think there's an experience that's gained through, kind of how you did it. But
someone that you emulated or learned from and had.
No, I always talk to a lot of different guys. Whether it was Dana Bible when he was at Boston College, or Sean McDonald, who was the former head offensive coordinator, became a play caller. Gary Croton. There's a lot of different guys that I've had an opportunity to visit with and talk with about it. So.
You said starting 4. When would you like to see one of the guards at right guard?
When? Today. When? But is
How's
that?
How's that going?
It's an ongoing battle. If it was today, then we would have had one guy to just jump out in the first 4 days of practice, and then you could set it. But you always would love to have it done sooner than later. But we also want to make sure it's the right guy and the right fit. So. We're giving everybody ample opportunities. And again, with that, a lot of it, there's a huge difference between our training sessions and a game, so you can get all jacked up about somebody and say, oh my God, here we go. And then you go out against the Colts and he's not as good as you thought he was. And then someone else really steps up. So, that evaluation won't be made until at least we get a couple games underneath our belt. So.
How do you weigh that, against, wanting to develop continuity on the line as far as that?
It doesn't matter what continuity if you have the wrong guy, and that's the bottom line. Everybody feels the same way. You'd love to have everything locked in right now, but if we did, and we're doing it we're locking in the wrong guy, then that doesn't help us as a football team. So, the great part of our preseason is it is so long that it will give itself a chance to express itself over that time. You're not making a hasty decision. We're not playing that game against the Colts. Isn't counting in the standings, so it's not like, hey, we got a game. We're starting to get into game week next week. Or preseason game. It's not a regular season game. If it was Atlanta, it would be a little bit more difficult. If it was Atlanta, we would have to have it done by this weekend so we can at least get guys going and getting ready to go. So.
What's the tape showing you on how Walter Thurman's doing?
Who? Walter Thurman? Yeah. Walt's done a really nice job. I think that transition probably goes back to the fact that he's played inside in nickel and has had a lot of experience inside nickel. So our nickel position is similar to a safety position. He's seen the game from the inside, and I think that's the biggest transition for a corner, because a lot of times when all you've done is play corner, there's always been one guy here and 10 guys in there. When you have a different perspective for seeing things, then you bump that guy inside, and it's a whole different thing. You're seeing guys out here, you're seeing guys in here. How do you fit? How do you get involved in things? And I think that transition has helped him because of his ability inside. But I think he's done a really good job. When we made the move in the spring, he really stood out for us in his play in the spring, and he's continuing to do the same things here. So.
Year two, you signed Shady in free agency, had a lot of success in San Diego on special teams. What makes him so good on special teams?
2. First off, his length, I think, is one of the things that's kind of unique about him. He's got great flexibility with that length to be able to make people avoid and miss blocks, but he can get extended and make plays. And when you look at his highlight tape of what he did on special teams, he's always kind of getting around to block and can reach and grab people because he's so long, and he can find the football. He's not easily blocked, so he's a great cover guy, whether it be on punt coverage or kickoff cover. So there's a lot of different things there, and I think he understands that his niche getting into the National Football League was, really embracing that role in special teams, and he was a standout player for San Diego. So now it's a combination of this, like I said earlier, if you're not the number one receiver, which he's not, then where do you fit in? What's your versatility? And I think he's shown that so far. So.
Is there anybody you don't expect to practice?
Copeland and Kiko. That's it. Thank you.